It's Friday, December 5th, and you're tuned into Tampa Talk, your weekly roundup of everything happening around the city. I'm riding solo today, so thanks for hanging out with me, and we'll get into this week in Tampa history. So for this week, we're going back to December 8th, 1941, which was the day after Pearl Harbor. Tampa dedicated the Fort Homer W. Hesterly National Guard Armory on that day. It was not only the headquarters for the National Guard's 116th Field Artillery Battalion and later the 53rd Infantry Brigade, but for more than 5 decades, this building was one of Tampa's biggest gathering places. Concerts, sporting events, political rallies, community events that also happened to be the Armory. And so fast forward to 2016, the Armory underwent a massive $30 million renovation and transformed into the Brian Glazer Family JCC. So keeping its original dedication date, December 8th. Today it houses fitness center, art centers, business accelerators, senior programs, community services, and more. And so that's pretty cool. That's the origin stories of the JCC building. Getting into the news this week, Tampa Code Enforcement Director was fired over a lottery scheme. So Tampa's Code Enforcement Director, Keith O'Connor, has been fired after investigators found he cashed a $20,000 lottery ticket for an employee. The reason? If the employee had cashed it himself, the winnings would have been seized for unpaid child support. And if his name sounds familiar to you, his wife, former Tampa Police Chief Mary O'Connor, resigned a few years ago after she was stopped in a golf cart traffic stop and when she utilized the police chief card to kind of get out of the situation. So the state attorney isn't filing charges, but the city said his actions were enough for immediate dismissal. In other news, a verdict is in for Dylan Fogel, the man who drove a semi-truck cab into the loading dock of Emperor's Gentlemen's Club in August 2024. I also remember talking about this story, and he was found guilty on all counts, including murder and attempted murder. He faces a mandatory life sentence for killing Giovanni Soto and injuring 2 others. Prosecutors said Fogel has been kicked out of the club and returned behind the wheel of a semi. The question wasn't whether he did it, but whether he intended to kill, which I guess was determined true. Governor Ron DeSantis has announced $112 million in water quality grants. So he was in Tampa this week announcing that this was specifically $50 million for alternative water supply, $50 million for protecting freshwater springs, and $12 million for new algae fighting technology. So that's a lot of money coming into the Gulf Coast and Central Florida, which is definitely something we'll be keeping an eye on. And then a big football shakeup. USF head coach Alex Golesh has officially been hired by Auburn. So he led USF in huge successes the past few seasons to number 2 in the nation in total offense, bowl eligible all 3 years, and back in the AP top 25 for the first time since 2018. So that didn't take long for him to leave us, but USF has already named his replacement, which will be Brian Hartline, which was formerly Ohio State's offensive coordinator. OSU went 92-11 during his time on staff, and that's, I guess, a pretty impressive stat. And he's been part of the 8 Big Ten championship teams as a coach and player. So that's a big get for USF, while we will miss Alex Golesh. And then finally, USF student government faces budget crisis. So they take in $13.5 million a year in student fees, but clubs and programs are requesting more than that. So for years, they've used savings to make up the gap, but thanks to kind of recent inflation and activity costs, they are out of those reserves will hit zero by 2027. And so clubs are kind of getting cut, their budgets are getting cut, and student events will maybe feel the effects of that. Events going on, we've got AMRoC's After Dark AI Date Night Experience, the second one going on today at 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. over at AMRoC Fab Lab in the University Mall. Tickets are $40. Then we have Christmas at Dinosaur World happening through January 4th from 5 to 8 over in Plant City for $25 for adults, $20 for kids. Christmas in the Wild taking place at Zoo Tampa on select nights if you want to check out their schedule online. $52 for adults and $42 for kids. And then Winter Village at Curtis Hickson Park is still going on through January 4th, and the Santa's Carnival at Hillsborough County Fairgrounds through the 28th of December. So lots of Christmas events taking place as we get into this holiday season. Otherwise, you can catch us out at Ybor Street Community Garden from 3 to 5, our new hours, every Friday. So that includes today, and from Harvest Hope from 10:30, 11:30 a.m. So come say hi, come volunteer. Thank you for those who attended our Homegrown Hillsborough first ever annual conference. It was a hit, and we hope you loved it as much as we did. And thank you to all those who hosted us, including Yingling Draft House, Meacham Urban Farm, the Port Tampa Bay, the Boozy Pig, and I think that's everybody. So, but thank you to all who attended. It really was a great convening of food system partners. But like I said, I'd keep it short and sweet this week. That's what we're talking about. And if you enjoyed the show or enjoy our show in general, please share, rate, and spread the word by sharing tampatalk.xyz or subscribing to the digital newsletter at wordonthestreets.xyz. And we'll see you next Friday when John will be back with me. So y'all be good.